Good evening. We would like to call the February 10th, 2022 Rutherford County School Board meeting to order. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Mr. Tim Holden.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Invite everybody to join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay, first item is approval of the agenda. Do any board members have any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Thank you, Ms. Bratton.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain? Okay, next item is the approval of the consent agenda. Do any members have questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move.
Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. Thank you, Mr. Holden. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain? Item passes. Okay, we're on to item number 6.
All right, item number 6, recognition. We got Siegel High School. We're going to recognize a student athlete, Kyra Hayes, AAA girls cross country state champion with a time of 18.05. Coach, you want to come on up? Mm-hmm.
I'd like to introduce to you Kyra Hayes. Spurlock School Board members, thank you for the opportunity to recognize 2021 Girls AAA Siegel Cross Country Champion Senior Kyra Hayes. She's signed an athletic scholarship to compete in cross country and track and study nursing with a focus in pediatrics at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. Siegel Cross Country program success would not be possible without the support of Mr. Spurlock, the school board members, Mr. Harris, Mr. Creasy, the administrators, faculty and staff at Siegel, our coaching staff, parents, and most of all, our team members. Oftentimes, our sport is not given the same spotlight, so we appreciate the opportunity tonight. The student athletes who run cross-country work exemplify hard work and dedication that pays off both in the classroom and on the race course. And all of our 2021 team members played a part in Kyra's success this season. Central High School head coach Alan Nichols, who was up here back in December, shared these thoughts about Kyra. What stands out most to me about Kyra is how hard she has worked to get where she is today. While I was aware of her as an underclassman, she burst onto the big stage when she was a junior. It's been quite rare in my experience to see a female runner excel and continue to improve as Kyra has done through her junior and senior years. What Kyra has accomplished from the 9th grade through her senior year in cross country is truly impressive and makes her one-of-a-kind student athlete. She has been quite challenging to coach against. No matter what strategies and I get my runners to use, Kyra always has an answer for it on the race course. I was thrilled to see her win at the TSSAA Class AAA Overall Individual Championship this past November. Kyra had the option of doing more and training better. She made the choice and took the opportunity to make it happen during the 2021 season. Kyra is not a special person. She is willing to do special things and extraordinary things and accept the risks and perhaps the loneliness that accompanies the success that she has achieved both as a student and an athlete here at Siegel High School. Some of her 2020 accomplishments include she'll run collegiately at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, and study nursing. She was 2021 state champion. She's our program's second girls individual state champion with a time of 18:05. She was the overall winner in 6 of 7 races, won all her meets in Tennessee. She's a school record holder in 1748. She was Tennessee Sports Writer Association All-State, Tennessean All-Mid-State First Team, D&J Runner of the Year, Murfreesboro Post Runner of the Year, Mainstream Preps Runner of the Year, Gatorade Tennessee Runner of the Year nominee. Kira exemplifies hard work and dedication that pays off both in the classroom and during the race. Her accomplishments here at Siegel the past 4 years have been very impressive, and it is my hope to you as your coach that you have learned half as much from me as I have learned from you, and that your life will be better because we have met. Thank you very much.
Very impressive, Coach. All right, next, the Oakland High School football team, the Oakland Patriots, led by head coach Kevin Creasy, completed a second perfect season of 15-0, defeating Summit 43-26 on December 4th to win the TWSLA 6A state championships. You want to come up, Coach Creasy?
Thank you very much. That's a tough act to follow, Coach. I don't have any written statements, but I will say this. I've got a quote from you a couple years ago. You said it takes talent to win a state championship, and you came off and won another one right after that, and you said it takes character to go back to back. Remember that? I remember it. So I'm going to steal that line, and we feel real proud of our team as well. We feel real proud of Jordan James being nominated for Mr. Football, but he's not very much on accolades. He's not much on bragging. He doesn't like me to give him too many shout-outs, but I do feel like that he needs to give not only his teammates a lot of credit, because we're a team sport, but he needs to give himself a lot of credit. And we're real proud of Jordan James, just like you are of your athlete. And we do feel like that it took a lot of talent for us to win in 2020, especially with the pandemic. And then it took a lot of character for our guys to answer the bell and to win back-to-back. And we're really proud of our guys and our accomplishments. We feel like at Oakland, we coach them hard, but then we love them a little bit harder. And we couldn't get it all done without the support of Mr. Marshall. We couldn't get it done without the board support. We're really happy with everything that you've done for us. You may tune in and watch us every now and then, but I promise you we're tuning in and watching every one of you too. And we're really happy with the accomplishments that we've done on the football field, but we're really happy and pleased with what y'all have done as a collection, as a team, working together under Mr. Spurlock's leadership. So with that being said, Jordan, we're real proud of you. And if you want this microphone, it's all yours. What do you think? All right. So we'll let you guys get back to work, and we do appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys.
Congratulations.
All right, I'm going to say we're very blessed to have these coaches as mentors to their athletes here in our system. It's a long journey for all of them. They work very hard, and it's all over across our system. We've got athletes getting scholarships to major universities or any universities. A free college scholarship is nothing to sneeze about. And I'm very impressed with the work ethic and the character of our coaches, and I want y'all guys to continue on because I have a district athletics director that makes sure you all stay in line, right, Coach? And next one, we've got a TWSLA 2021 Mr. Football Finalist Kicker of the Year, and if I'm not mistaken, he'll be going, is it still Alabama, University of Alabama? And that is Mr. Upton Belafont from Stewart's Creek High School.
First, just like to extend my congratulations as well to Siegel and Oakland on the athletes and teams represented here tonight. Upton's pretty much won every accolade there is throughout the state the past 2 years at the 6A level. Mr. Spurlock, I'm sure you remember just down the road in your neighborhood last year in the middle of the pandemic when everything was shut down, Upton built a field goal out of PVC pipes in his backyard, and is definitely a self-starter. Incredibly proud of everything he's done and how he's represented our program these past several years. Like you said, Mr. Spurlock, he's going to be attending the University of Alabama, and they certainly don't extend the opportunity to join their team to anybody, and that certainly speaks to how elite he is, not just in the state of Tennessee, but nationally as well. And I want to thank all of you for the support you give our school and the student athletes throughout our county. Once again, Upton, very proud of you. God bless you, and couldn't be any more proud to have been your coach these last several years.
It's awesome. Congratulations to everybody.
Great.
Next item is visitors. We have a couple this evening. First visitor is Mr. Chris Littleton.
Hey, board, something just kind of light for you. So myself and one other member of Rutherford Students First, we served on one of the state subcommittees for how basically the new funding formula coming out, and so we were submitting feedback for that. And during that process, we surveyed our parents internally just to kind of get a sense of what their priorities were with regards to funding. So I wanted to share it with you guys because I know you're going to be walking through the budgeting process and all that stuff pretty soon, actually. So just some feedback from parents. And talking about components, now this really focuses more on the state formula, but people wanted things that were easy to understand. So one of the things I know we pushed for in our committee, and I don't think it's going to happen this year, but it'd be really nice to see, is a standardization of the accounting practices across the board with all the schools. Because if I log into, let's say, RCS, it's one view. If I log into another district, it's another view. And so it's kind of hard to compare apples to apples across the state. So easy to understand was kind of a big thing for the parents. They just don't really understand district finances. And obviously everybody's not an accountant, so it's hard to read all the spreadsheets that are available, which it's online, it's just they don't understand it necessarily. So kind of a dashboard view was what people were asking for, is a little bit easier to understand. A lot of focus on people wanting the money spent in better ways. One of the things that's frustrating for us, probably frustrating for you guys, and I know it's for the school principals, they don't have a lot of discretion when it comes to actual day-to-day expenditures necessarily. A lot of things are earmarked. So at the state level, we were pushing for more flexibility in the districts and more flexibility at the school level. We want principals and district leadership to have that kind of control. Not surprising, but academic competence was the most of these four general areas. Academic competence, social and emotional growth, athletic participation, and fine arts. Academic competence was probably the most important thing. And with regards to expenditures, I think our parents are very happy to see, excuse me, they're at least earmarking some extra money for teachers' salaries that won't go to anything else. It's just shy of $200 million, which is good. I think everybody was happy. But teachers' pay was the #1 thing that our parents wanted to see. And just to name a couple of the others, classroom supplies, building maintenance, technology in the classroom, that rounded out kind of the top few. And then I guess that's it specific to the district. We had a bunch of other questions that we asked them. So anyway, goal tonight was just to give you guys some feedback on that perspective, what we're walking through. If I hear anything else from the process and the people that I'm involved with the state, I will be happily sharing it back with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next guest is Mr. Timothy Highnote.
Hello again.
Hello.
So I know tonight we're going to have our first reading of the visitor policy changes that are being proposed. Just want to first off say thank you to everybody for taking that back to the policy committee a few weeks ago just to discuss those items, and I know there were some amendments made, so I do greatly appreciate that. I do think still, and I think within our group, there's still some opportunity to adjust some of those, specifically associated with the proposals for the visitor signs, size, that we're going to discuss tonight or that you guys will talk about. More so just because still think that this is preventing or this is going to prevent some parents from being able to express their opinions. I know there was a size consideration that was made, but hopefully we can look at it as an opportunity to, again, make a change. I'm just concerned that the school's opening themselves up to, or the school system rather, to litigation that could come from that. It's just going to be a waste of time and taxpayer money in that avenue. The second concern that I've got still is with the group delegations. I am also part of Rutherford Students First. As you can see tonight, Mr. Littleton was speaking on something very different than what I'm speaking about. And we make up parents that are across the county. All of us have different opinions as to what's going on within our schools. We represent children that are at different schools. Policies such as this that you're going to implement may not be followed to a T if they're adopted. But that doesn't mean that in the future, parents won't be prevented from speaking based off of the policies that are in black and white put into position today. I have children that are from 8 to 1. I will be in this school system for many years to come. So some of you guys may be looking at retirement at some point. You may change positions. Things happen. We go into different places. But the policies you enact today, we have to live with as parents. Your children may be standing here at some point with their grandchildren at stake, speaking to the board and pushed out because of the policies that you enact today. Just think about that when you vote on these and read them and consider them. Consider making changes as you have them written. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next visitor is Mr. Dan Sinclair.
Some of you I know, some of you I don't, but my name's Dan Sinclair. I own Consolidated Roof Inspections. I've been around here quite a while, but in 2000, I was placed under contract by Hewlin Watson as Rutherford County Schools roof consultant, and have since worked for 5 superintendents. My duties initially included inspecting all the roofs of new construction as well as re-roofing existing buildings. Throughout my tenure as the roofing consultant for Rutherford County Schools, we have made adjustments in the method and scope of my role. The need for consistent reporting on the conditions of the roof have been proven. Therefore, for the past several years, we've inspected schools twice a year as required by what the manufacturers, in order to keep your warranty in effect, want you to do, and will actually cancel your warranty if you fail to do it. Again, we look at the portables and we write these schools up and we take pictures of all things, everything. And at the end of the year, the amount of pictures that the schools have generated is staggering. We look at the portables once a year. And every portable, after it's put in place, we take the pictures of not only the roofs, but the whole building, and to give the board, the maintenance department, what they need to be looking at to fix. When I started this, we had 25 schools. We presently have 50, and that's not counting the newest elementary of Plainview. We have 114 portables. This represents what we look at with the portables included and all of the outbuildings, right at 9 million square feet of building space that needs to be maintained. We do that twice a year, so that's 18 million square feet of roofing that we look at. Used to, and for some of you who have been here a while, know what the roof leaks were like at one time. We have now cut on, may I go?
Let me finish that statement, and then we'll be...
All right. Roof leaks were reported up to 100 a day 20 years ago. We now get 3 or 4 roof leaks on 9 million square feet every time it rains. And a lot of that don't have to do with the roof leaking. It'll do with contraction and expansion of metal and things of that.
Mr. Sinclair, will you be around for this meeting, for the remainder of the meeting?
Sure.
We do want to get on, and we allow 3 minutes for our visitors, so forgive me, but if you'll be available after for board members to ask you questions, I would appreciate it.
Yes, I'll wait.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next item,
All right, the next item is from Curriculum and Instruction, found on tab 2. This is the modification of the 2022-2023 calendar. Basically, what it does is it removes those 2 half-days that we currently have in our schedule, or excuse me, in our calendar. We actually started out with 4 about years ago, but we've cut it down to 2. Now we want to remove both of those. It also adds what we call 3 administrative days within the calendar, and it changes the start back for the second semester for teachers to January the 3rd instead of the 2nd. Are there any questions over those modifications, looking at the calendar?
Is there a copy of that calendar that we can have? I can't find it on the attachments.
Is there what?
A copy of the actual calendar?
It's on the, it's on the web there.
On the attachments?
Yes,
Okay.
What page is that on? No? Keep in mind,
Go far back.
it's way back.
there's hundreds of pages of
Yeah.
Perhaps I just haven't gone far enough.
Okay. And the back page kind of gives you an outline of what a student and a teacher year looks like in terms of discretionary days, abbreviated days, day out of the calendar, and vacation days. And down at the bottom, it actually has the number of days for each month with a total at the bottom. And as we stated on Tuesday night, I think it was, that these days would be used at the discretion of the teachers and the principal. It could be everything from planning to PLCing to vertical teaming with different grade bands as far as math and ELA is concerned. I think it's a very productive time for the teachers and the administration.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns by members of the board? Good. Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain? Motion passes. Next item, Mr. Sparrow.
All right, number 9 is the internet access with hosted firewall, found on tab 3. This is an addition, not a replacement, to supplant any services that we currently have. As we talked about the other night, this primarily deals with our state testing, that it will be online for our high school. We have had some challenges, we all know that, with our internet service, and we're looking at ways in which we can make sure this doesn't occur during those times we'll be testing, because this is a lot of angst for our teachers and perhaps our students. So we're requesting that ENA Services, LLC, to fully manage additional internet access with hosted firewall from March 2022 to June of 2022 for a monthly recurring price of $11,750. This monthly service includes circuit, Insight router, equipment maintenance, service monitoring, field support, and all required ENA equipment. This request is in place to increase the additional service to our main server for the upcoming spring mandated online testing, and this will be paid through ESSER 3.0 funds. Motion to approve ESSER 3.0 funds to pay ENA Services, LLC to fully manage additional internet access with hosted and firewall from the time of March the 22nd through June the 22nd, funded through ESSER 3.0 in a not to exceed $47,000 for these services.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns, members of the board?
This will not get us in trouble with the contract that we have with AT&T.
No, this is just an additional service.
Does this company do this service piggyback for other people as well?
They do. They're one of, in fact, they actually have more contracts with the school systems in the state of Tennessee. They're the ones that have the majority of the contracts.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The reason we are doing this is because we cannot count on AT&T to
We,
perform, right?
Yes, sir. To say it's been a challenge would be an understatement.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I move.
Thank you, Ms. Maxwell.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Young. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain? Item passes. Next item, Mr.
James, real
Yes.
quick. James, could you go out and get a picture of those two finalists? Oh, you did? Okay. So as long as you did that, I'm just, man, you're on top of it, James. Okay, all right.
Ahead of it over there.
All right, the next one's found on tab 4, legal, disciplinary hearing appeal. The board has been requested to review the decision of disciplinary hearing authority, DHA, to uphold the remand of the student from Rockville Middle School. Based on the review of the DHA's record, the board may do the following. A, affirm the decision of the DHA. B, overturn the decision of the DHA. Or C, grant a hearing before the board.
Thank you. Members of the board, we had packets that we reviewed. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns regarding this item? Okay. Seeing that there are none, I will entertain a motion.
I'd like to move that we affirm the decision of the DHA.
Second. Thank you, Ms. Breton. Thank you, Ms. Sharp. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain? Item passes. Next item, Mr. Spurlock.
Number 2, policy changes and new policy. Below are the policy changes recommended by the policy committee on first of the 2 readings. A is policy 1.400, school board meetings. It added guidelines for posters and materials from visitors during the school board meetings. It was sent back to policy committee for further deliberation from the board meeting on December 16 of 2021. The amendment, I think, was 11 and a half by 7. Am I correct on that?
8.5 by 11.
8 and a half by 11. Yes, 8 and a half by 11. The next policy, or I guess you might want to have any conversation over that, or
Any conversation on this policy item?
Are we going to break these out and vote for them, or how are we going to?
that's we can do that if y'all choose to do so.
Ms. Sharp, if you'd like to entertain voting on them separately, we can.
I would like to vote on them separately.
Okay. Mr. Spurlock will take a motion after then.
Okay. All right.
Any other comments or questions on this item, policy 1.400? Okay, seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve policy 1.400.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. I will second that motion. So we have a first and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Any member wish to abstain? Okay.
We ready? Okay. All right, B, 1.404 appeals to and appearances before the board made changes to the visitor process and decorum requirements in line with allowable and unallowable restrictions as established by the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. It was sent back to policy for further deliberations from the board meeting on December of 16. I think the changes, and you can correct me, Ms. Ridley, was the one about the organization repetitive thing was changed to, and you might want to clear that up a little bit. It has nothing to do with individuals.
Correct. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, anything you want to add to that?
Nope.
So if I'm representing an organization and I sign up as an individual, to speak, I have the right to speak. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is primarily if an organization came as a group to speak. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. But not as an individual?
Yes.
Okay.
Got it.
So I have some comments on this item, this policy, because I did meet with some parents and some different organizations and groups. There is some confusion. When we have visitors who come to our meetings, they get 3 minutes to address us. There's no exchange, there's no dialogue. The goal would be if there is a parent group who would like to address the board with information details, as Mr. Littleton does from time to time, there can be an exchange with the chair and the director, and we can give them time on the agenda. That would be an appropriate time to hammer out a more in-depth issue. This is not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is parents in this policy, parents or individuals, regardless of their affiliation with an organization, can come and address the board publicly for 3 minutes. We appreciate their affiliation with any parental organization, but we are not restricting parental organizations nor are we restricting parents. So I think that the language or maybe the interpretation of this policy is challenging, but our intent is not to mute anybody, but to be able to hear our parents. Organizations, again, need to work with us to present to our board, and we're more than happy to accommodate that. So,
Can we get her to read that? Could you read that for us so that we can kind of, the part that you amended on the policy, do you have that?
I do, yes. Let me just scroll down here.
Did we change it to 24-hour notice, or did that
I think
is
she's got all that, she's highlighted all the, okay.
So what the policy committee discussed and voted on was to make the following changes. And this is the language, making application to speak. And of course, all these are attached to the agenda and they are on our website. So individuals may speak to the board so long as all requirements contained in this policy are met. Individuals who do not comply with this policy will be denied the ability to speak. In order to speak at board meetings with visitors on the agenda, individuals must complete a public participation form provided by the board. The form must be fully completed and turned in to the board's executive secretary no longer than 24 hours prior to the meeting, and that's a change. The individual must provide proof of Rutherford County residency or employment with the Rutherford County Board of Education along with the public participation form and photo ID. Each person wishing to speak must submit an individual form. It is not permissible for multiple names to be included on the same form. So that was a substantive change there in language as far as length. If a speaker is approved, the speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. The speaker shall introduce themselves to the board by stating their name for the record. Delegations of speakers from the same organization should elect one individual to speak on behalf of the delegation. And I think that's what you're referring to, Chairwoman. Speakers may not distribute materials printed or otherwise directly to the board members during the meeting. If a speaker wishes to distribute materials, the speaker should bring copies and hand them out to the board's executive secretary for distribution. Posters and signs in excess of 8.5 by 11 inches in size are not allowed in the boardroom due to safety concerns and public access concerns related to visibility. The following behavior and comments may result in the board chair ending a speaker's time early, and if necessary, due to ongoing interruption, lack of compliance with the chair's directions, having the speaker removed. And we had changed this repetitive comments already made by the speaker and other speakers. We took that part out. So now it would be refusing to yield the podium when the speaking time allotted by the board expires, using obscene or vulgar language or conduct or statements intended to incite violence or breach the peace.
Is that it?
Those are all the changes, yes, from the policy committee.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions, comments, or concerns by members of the board? Okay, seeing none, we'll entertain a motion to approve policy number 1.404.
I move.
Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. Thank you, Ms. Bratton. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Any member wish to abstain? This item passes. Mr. Spurlock, if it's okay with you, I'd like to go back to policy 1.400. Ms. Hopkins, did we get a clear understanding of those votes, and did that item pass or did it fail? Thank you.
Policy 4.205, enrollment in advanced courses. It added clarity to the enrollment in advanced courses and college level courses, primarily what grade average you need to have to apply for it or enroll in it, and what is expected out of you. These would include our dual enrollment courses, dual credit courses, our honor courses, our industry certification courses, and IB and Cambridge courses.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns on policy 4.205? Okay, seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I move.
Thank you, Ms. Maxwell.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Young. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain? Item passes. Next policy.
All right, 5.602, staff time schedules. It changes the language to state that the supervisor has the authority to have the employee use compensatory time hours before overtime pay.
Thank you. Comments, questions, concerns, members of the board? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion on policy 5.602.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain? Policy passes. Next policy.
All right, our next one is policy 6.411, student wellness. This adds language from Tennessee Code Annotated 49-6-1021 that states the amount of time required for physical activity broken down by elementary, middle through high.
Thank you. Questions, comments, concerns, members of the board? Okay, seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I move.
Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. Thank you, Ms. Bratton. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain? Next policy.
Or we have new policies, starting with policy policy 1.1021, student member of the board. It adds a student representative and a deputy student representative to the board.
Thank you. Comments, questions, concerns about this policy? 1.1021.
I move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Thank you, Ms. Bratton. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain? Item passes. Next item, we did finance.
We did this, the presentation from Ms. Puddleback. So we'll move to number 12, facilities on tab 5. The town of Smyrna requests for land use at the John Coleman School. The town of Smyrna has requested to continue to use this small corner of the John Coleman School property. The property in question has been utilized and maintained by the town since the park was completed. At this time, they are requesting to provide a paved area for additional pavilion parking. Engineering and construction have reviewed the request and find it to be in order. Motion to approve this MOU and land to use request by the town of Smyrna for additional parking at Sharp Springs Recreation Area adjacent to the John Coleman School as presented.
Thank you. Questions, comments, concerns regarding this?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp.
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain? Next item, Mr. Spurlock.
All right, number 2, as Mr. Lee described yesterday, on Tuesday, the Buchanan Elementary School at the sewer change order, the change order number 1, in the amount of $106,843. This is for additional electrical services for the new sewer plant. Engineering and construction has reviewed the request as in order, and there will be no additional funds will be needed to complete this project. Motion to approve Jarrett Builders' request for change order number 1 in the amount of $106,843 to complete the project, the sewer project at Buchanan Elementary School.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns, members of the board?
I'll move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Holden.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Young. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain? Item passes. Next is insurance. We covered that. Is there anything additional?
There was not anything additional.
Okay. Number 14, director's report.
All right, the only thing I'll call your attention to is it's still embargo, but there will be an announcement tomorrow about Rutherford County Schools being of one of, I think, 30-something school districts that will be recognized for how the funding was spent in terms of our ESSER funds for learning loss. And there'll be a celebration. I'll send you the link just as soon as they lift the embargo. And it does add some additional revenue.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
Number 15, Ms. Maxwell?
There's quite a lot going on at the State House right now. So I'm not going to talk about all of them, so I'm just going to kind of pick and choose a few. And I'm going to lead with two that are from our locals, state reps. Mike Sparks has a bill that, Tennessee House Bill 2253, where he requires LEAs to classify school nurses as licensed personnel for salary purposes, requiring an LEA to pay a school nurse the base salary established for licensed teachers for the respective school year if the school nurse holds a valid license to practice professional nursing as a registered nurse with 0 years of experience, and it requires the LEA to pay a school nurse more than or less than the established pay base salary per school year if the nurse has more or less training and experience than that required of the base salary. Second of all, we have Tim Rudd, House Bill 1880, and basically, I don't believe that was directed at this district because we already allow this, but this would be require local boards of education to provide an opportunity for at least 10 people to speak on any topic related to the board for at least 3 minutes per person at each public meeting, and to provide an opportunity for people to submit written public comments to the board. And if you look at a few more, there is the Senate Bill 2407, Local Education Agencies, introduced the Age-Appropriate Materials Act of 2022, requires each public school to maintain and post on the school website a list of materials in the school's library collection, requiring each local Board of Education and public charter school governing body to adopt a policy to establish procedures for the development and review of school library collections. Then there is the Senate Bill 1982, which prohibits governmental entities and local education agencies, schools, and businesses from adopting or enforcing laws, rules, or practices that fail to recognize natural immunity of providing a level of immune protection that is at least protective as COVID-19 vaccine, or treat individuals with natural immunity differently than individuals who have received COVID-19 vaccine. There's also House Bill 2484, that has introduced expanding existing recall process for local school board members to each school district and state. And then finally, House Bill 2451, which enacts the Parent Bill of Rights Act, which requires LEAs to permit parents to have access to certain information, including the names of instructors, titles available in the school library, teacher manuals, and curriculum. It requires parents to provide written consent before a student can participate in any extracurricular activity, family life lesson, field trip, school assembly, or guest speaker. Also, when it comes to BEP funding, Governor Lee has proposed $52.5 billion for the 2023 year, which is a nearly $10 billion increase, and most of that's focusing on K through 12 education, and $750 million towards the new funding formula.
Can I ask you a question about the nurses things that Sparks is bringing up? You do know it's 1 to 3,000 right now, and they're actually looking to reduce it to 1 to 500. So it's a little different from funding a teacher and funding a nurse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. That was a lot of information.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
A smattering of what was up there.
We appreciate it. Do you have anything for federal this evening?
Just that, a couple days ago in a speech, Education Secretary Miguel Cardona has made inequities in K through 12 systems a priority, and he's asked each state and district to take a hard look at the ways we fund schools, which we are, And we need to make education the great equalizer, which I agree.
Thank you. Appreciate all that information. Number 17, general discussion.
I have a few things. I brought them up at the work session, and I would like to see us do something about our EAs and increasing and giving them a step-up raise and valuing and acknowledging all the hard work that they've done over the last 1.5 to 2 years that we've been through this. I believe that it's very much warranted, and I really feel like we need to look at this hard and strongly and make sure we can take care of them. I also, I understand we've gone to the time clock system, and I'm not against that, but I believe that the biometric system is just something that I'm not comfortable with, and I don't believe that most of our staff, if polled, would be in agreement. I don't think they have a problem with clocking in. Clocking on your phones is convenient. It does do away with a lot of cumbersome paperwork. But the biometric system of the 2 fingers and taking your picture, any way you slice it and dice it, it's dehumanizing. And these are people. And so I just would like to see us take a look at perhaps going back to the original plan, which was some kind of a clocking in system that didn't necessarily do the biometrics. I really don't feel comfortable with that. And I just,
Is that, now, we're doing fingerprint or we're doing the?
It's a scan.
it's a scan, fingers and pictures.
Most of your government jobs like that, they scan, they do the same thing. I don't know, I haven't really, James, have you seen this? I don't know where it's being used.
I haven't seen it exactly what we're doing, but I do know that.
I remember him saying it was being used somewhere, but do you remember where it was being used?
I can't call you a specific place, but I do know that it's pretty common for them to have some sort of time clock or check-in system like that.
We're talking about that scanning part. You know, we've all seen government officials come up and they scan in their badge and things of that nature to get in. In fact, I scan this in to get into every building, you know.
I think it's the fact that you have to go to this specific computer and you have
I don't know the
camera.
I'll find
it's
out,
the
though.
camera and the fingers. It's at Rockville Middle.
Is it Rockville Middle?
Yeah, it is, and it can't be the only one because I think everyone was for what I was understanding.
Is it optional?
Everyone was in Summit.
Was it optional?
Is it optional?
I don't know.
Some
Y'all telling
schools
me.
took
I didn't
it,
know.
and some schools didn't. But I think eventually, all schools are supposed to go to it. But I know the people don't like it. I know the personnel don't like it, and after all they've been through, we need to really err on the side of what they feel comfortable with, and not just push them into this and say, well, this is just another thing. They've had to swallow quite a bit. They've had to, and I really think that we should really take another hard look at this and say, you know, should we put them in this position where a lot of them aren't going to stand for this, and we could possibly lose some really valuable assets.
Well, I think the first step, and I heard a little bit of it on Tuesday night, but I didn't hear the in-depth part of it. I'll meet with Mr. Bodery and find out why are we doing time clocks in some areas and we're doing this in another area. I don't know. There's got to be some reasonable, conclusion to it. I do know that the way we've been doing it prior to this year, where we started clocking in and stuff like that, the way we did paper, it was just paper, writing in how many hours you worked and things of that nature. And quite frankly, things happen over time. And quite frankly, it takes, we have to fund an additional staff person to go through and key in this much paper.
Oh, I understood why we went away from it. I did understand that.
But the biometric
thing,
I
that's just...
I don't know about that one. I'll have to
there's a
check
lack
and
of
see.
trust there to me. Yeah. And I feel like that's what our employees feel. And I really feel like that it was the wrong move to make after all they've been through. I think it's not the right way to go.
I agree with you, Ms. Maxwell. When we voted for a time clock, perhaps we should have asked more questions, because to me, a time clock was something that they could easily check in on their phone, as you mentioned. I think about campuses as large as Oakland High School, for example, which is a huge campus, and I know that there can be an EA 10 minutes away that has to run to clock in. And aren't they docked if they're so late? That's what I thought. I am not comfortable with this at all.
I'm gonna just put this out here, okay? If you find issues like that, that's what I'm here for, okay? I was not aware of the biometric,
Really?
okay? But now I am,
Now you are.
okay?
Ms. Sharp?
Yes. Coming from a banking background, I completely get every person that touches a piece of paper is costing you money. I think it's not uncommon when we scan in, come into a building, we have the same scan in, but they're not taking our fingerprints and they're not taking our picture. I think the assumption was that it was a sign in or you're clocking in on computer or something like that. If it's optional, then I think we need to go with the sign-in and not the biometrics. I'm not sure why that principal chose that. I've spoken with a couple of EAs from some of my elementary schools, and they didn't know anything about it. So it may be something that the principal chose to do, and it's not across the board. But I think the picture and the thumbprint or whatever fingerprints, I think it's too much. And, at a certain point, we have to trust our employees, and it's a lot. Like Ms. Bratton said, you may have to park on the other side of the campus, and the only place that you can sign in or where that picture, whatever it is, the machine, could be on the other side of campus. And, where we want to make sure that people are working the hours that they say they're working, we may be prohibiting them from signing in on time, and therefore they're being docked.
I think the first thing I will do is find out where it's happening, and I will also find out, because a lot of times we hear things and we take it to be the gospel. I will find out if there is a clock or only one clock in the building, and if a person is parking on the other side of the campus, why are we expecting them to go all the way over that side to clock in? And once again, I don't know it. I'm the person that finds out the facts prior to making a determination. But once I do find out the facts, I will report it back to the board.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
I will note, and I happen to agree with much of this conversation, I do believe Mr. Bodery told us on Tuesday that there is the option for the biometrics, but if they can't get biometrics, there is a clock in with a camera that focuses over that clock in system, so there is some kind of visual accountability regardless. I would appreciate, Mr. Spurlock, if you would get back with us on that information, and I don't like very much the camera or the biometrics myself. I'm all about accountability and fiscal responsibility, but I think we can accomplish that in a different way. So appreciate you entertaining that.
Could I go back to the EAs? I know this was mentioned, Claire did not, Ms. Maxwell didn't bring it back up, but I would like to see a career path for our EAs. If they're going to stay with our system for 20 years, there needs to be, instead of just, giving them money, we need to train them, invest in them, and actually give them a way to make more money and to enrich their own careers.
Because right now, the training that they do get, that doesn't benefit them financially. It's just mandatory training. You do the training. But over the course of 20 years, they've gotten a lot of training, and there's more coming down the pipeline, especially if you're in SPED, because every time there's a new SPED legislation, there's new training.
And there's a depth of knowledge with those EAs that we can't just get anywhere. And I think, just like in banking, we train and train and train, and the deeper the relationship goes, the longer they stay employed, and it just encourages them.
We want them to stay.
We touched on that on Tuesday as well. Mr. Spurlock, would it be possible for you to get us some more information and how we might be able to accomplish that and bring it back to the board?
That was one of the things that we're going to discuss with Dr. Anthony and Mr. Bodery and probably Dr. Sullivan tomorrow sometime.
Wonderful. We look forward to hearing more about that. Thank you. Any other general discussion items, members of the board? Mr. Young?
I just listened to the report out on legislators, and one thing I guess that bothers me about our legislators, they come up with 200 to 300 bills every year just for education. And I get that. A lot of people's got their ear on different issues. But one thing that sticks out to me, The rest is like this library. They're concerned about our library books, and I get it, I'm concerned about library books too. But we've got other problems, and I don't see these guys carrying a bill for. It's like cell phones. Cell phones in our schools are an issue. We've got problems with cell phones in our schools. TikTok, pictures being taken that shouldn't be taken. Those are the kind of things we need to be addressing as a school board, and our legislators need to be backing us with some laws. And it's just frustrating that we keep seeing problems like this happen over and over and over again. And it's affecting these young people's lives, and nobody's doing nothing about it. Nothing.
Mr. Young, to your point, the last 2 years I've been trying to work on legislation to keep our classrooms safer, and it's literally you have to just keep going every year. And I have some legislators, some of them are local reps, I may not name a name, but you know, when I ask them, we need legislation for this, to me, that's their job, writing bills. You know, and they'll tell me, Tammy, just write the bill and we'll run it up the flagpole. And, you know, that's great, but we're school board members, and they're the ones supposed to write the legislation. So we just have to get back in front of them more often and hammer it every year.
I've been meeting with those guys for 10 years, and very few times do they ever carry anything up there to the hill that we ask them to do. I just want to throw it out there.
Appreciate that, Mr. Young. Ms. Sharp, that's not an uncommon situation.
Right.
The legislature, and oftentimes that is how they get their legislation anyway, from a lobbyist or somebody. So we have the resources, and I know it's not our job, but we are advocates for our system. So we have the resources in Mr. Reed, and maybe we should take them up on the offer and give them some language, and then let's see if they'll run with it for us.
I would love to, because, you know, with everything else that we're working on and we're trying to take care of, most of what they have goes before, you know, it goes before the legal department and everything. And if we could have our legal department help with a lot of that, the verbiage and everything, taking it up there and getting it to them that's easy.
We hate to have to do it that way, but maybe that's the next step for us.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you for that. Mr. Young, did you have anything else, or were you good? Okay. Mr. Holden?
Okay. I wanted to bring before the board tonight, I ran up on an opportunity this week, potential opportunity for some property out on 96. It is owned by the city of Murfreesboro, and maybe y'all have already looked at that property one time before. However, their situation has changed a little bit, and I'd just like to bring it before the board to see if we could revisit that. They did some land swaps with Middle Tennessee Electric, so it's kind of out of their city limits, so I don't know if they have a plan for it or not. But at least it's on 96, and that's what we were talking about we needed. And it's 80 acres. And I would like for us to at least discuss having Mr. Lee and them look at it and talk with the city about it. We're overcrowded in that area anyways. It's not like we're never going to need land. So I just wanted to bring that before the board tonight.
Appreciate that. Mr. Spurlock, we know the property he's talking about.
I'll be honest with you, Mr. Holden. I'm not quite sure. Have we looked at the property before?
Yes, it was 120 acres. It had some wetland.
That's the acreage. I can't remember.
Yep, but
right across from Mayor Burgess's?
Yes.
Okay. Y'all been there.
He knows.
It's,
I say y'all.
We've all been there. That land has been looked at. It's cost, K-A-R-S-T. It has sinkholes. There's no way that we can remediate that land. We've already voted on it. If that land was a good piece of land, the developers would have already picked that land up. As rare as land is around here, someone would have already picked that land up. And we looked at it in 2019 and 2020, and we wanted to put 3 campuses there, but the that was on there. We couldn't, the part that we couldn't build on, made it.
Wetlands.
Yeah, the wetlands, made it where we could only build like an elementary and a middle school. But that land is not good land. That land is connected to the water table at Percy Priest. And when the table and the water goes up and down,
Stated some engineering studies had been done on it, and that's all I was going by, so anyway.
right, and, yeah.
It is addressed as a developmental land, so I don't know. We just needed land so bad in that area. I'm just wondering if the board would even consider discussing it with the city.
I appreciate that, Mr. Holden, and I respect Ms. Sharp's comments. We have vetted that land. We have had engineers look at it, but perhaps, Mr. Spurlock, we can ask Mr. Lee to take another look at it and engage the city, see if anything has changed.
Gary Whitaker's the gentleman I've talked to, so he said that he could call him, so.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you bringing that to us. Any further business? I have a few items before we finish. Members of the board, please, you did receive an email regarding a meeting about roofing with the commission on Monday, February 14th. I would encourage members to participate if at all possible in your calendar. Also, we are changing February 22nd's work session to Monday, February 21st. Is that correct, Ms. Hopkins? So that Health and Ed will meet at 5:30 on the 22nd. And I would encourage members of the board to go to Health and Ed if at all possible for your schedule. Thirdly, you should have received an email today, members of the board. It was a board self-evaluation from TSBA. This is for us to evaluate our performance and to brainstorm and put a plan together for us moving forward. We'll visit that at the retreat, so please finish that as soon as possible. Again, it's in your email. The director's evaluation is due today. If you have not completed it and mailed it in, please do so. Don't be like me, I'm behind. And we will get those comments and the tabulations at our retreat. Also, I know we're getting ready to go into budget season. If you have any requests, members of the board, please let Mr. Spurlock or myself or Ms. Hopkins know. I look forward to getting a budget update and schedule very quickly. So that is what I have. If there are no further questions or comments.
I've got one more question. So on Monday, we're meeting with the roofing company, and they are participating in a RFP?
We are meeting, it's an information meeting as I understand it. We were invited by the mayor and the commission. It will be at the historic courthouse at 9 a.m. That is the extent of my knowledge on that issue. It is at 9 o'clock. Anything else? Seeing no further business, we are adjourned.